she found 3 letters hidden inside an old book. Letters she had written to herself 10 years ago, and she could not finish reading them. Wait, why couldn't she finish them? Because in every single letter, she had used the same 3 words over and over again. Wish, hope, want. And reading them as an adult, she suddenly understood something she had never understood before. Wait, why couldn't she finish them? Because in every single letter, she had used the same 3 words over and over again. Wish, hope, want. And reading them as an adult, she suddenly understood something she had never understood before. What did she understand? That those 3 words had told her exactly where she was in her life at the time she wrote each letter, without her even realizing it. Okay, I genuinely need to know what was in those letters. You will, I promise. Welcome to Real English Podcast. I am Anna.
And I am Daniel.
Today's episode is one of the most emotionally rich ones we have made. 3 words that seem almost identical. Wish, hope, and want. But each one tells a completely different story about who you are and what you believe about your own future. Stay with us, because by the end of this episode, you will hear what was in those letters. And I think you might recognize yourself in them too. Story part 1. Nadia and the Old Book. Her name is Nadia, and Nadia is 33 years old when this story begins. She is moving house for the first time in a decade, packing up boxes, sorting through old belongings, discovering the archaeology of her own past. I love that phrase, the archaeology of your own past. Moving house really does feel like that, doesn't it? Have you ever moved house and found something from years ago that completely stopped you in your tracks? Absolutely. I once found a note I wrote at 16 about what I wanted to be when I grew up. It was so different from what I actually became, and somehow that made me feel both proud and a little sad at the same time. That is exactly the feeling Nadia had. She is packing up her bookshelf, a bookshelf she has had since university. And inside an old novel she loved at 22, she finds them. 3 folded pieces of paper. Her own handwriting. 3 letters. To herself? To herself. Dated 3 years apart. She had completely forgotten she wrote them. She sits down on the floor, right there, surrounded by boxes, and she starts to read. I am already emotional, and you have not even told me what they say yet. I know. The first letter is from when she was 22, just graduated, standing at the beginning of everything. And the very first line reads, I wish I knew where I was going. That is such an honest and vulnerable thing to write. And the second letter, from age 28, opens with, I hope things will be different by the time I read this. Interesting. Different energy from the first one somehow. And the third letter, from age 28, starts with, I want to stop waiting and start living. 3 letters, 3 different words. And you said she could suddenly understand something about herself from reading them? She could see her own life clearly for the first time, not from the outside, but from the inside, through her own words. And the key was in those 3 words: wish, hope, and want. So what is the difference? They all seem to be about wanting something, right? They do seem that way, but they are not. And this is where it gets really interesting. Let me explain. English discovery moment. Wish versus hope. Impossible versus possible. So here is the key insight. Wish and hope both describe wanting something for the future, but they carry completely different beliefs about whether that thing is possible. What do you mean by different beliefs? When you wish for something, deep down, you do not really believe it will happen. Wish is connected to the impossible or the very unlikely. I wish I could fly. I wish I had more time. I wish things were different. You are dreaming of something you know or fear is out of reach. So wish carries a kind of sadness underneath it? A longing for something you cannot have? Exactly. Wish is beautiful, but it is tinged with a sense of impossibility. I wish I knew where I was going. Nadia at 22. She had no map, no confidence, no clear path. She was wishing for certainty she did not believe she could find. Wish. A desire for something impossible, unlikely, or imaginary, often with underlying sadness or longing. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self not to worry so much. And hope is different? Hope is completely different in feeling. Hope is connected to the possible. When you hope for something, you believe it could actually happen. You are not certain, but you believe. I hope it will be sunny tomorrow. I hope she gets the job. I hope things improve. The outcome is uncertain, but it is real and possible.
So, hope has more energy in it? More forward movement?
Much more energy. Hope leans into the future. Wish looks at the present with longing. I hope things will be different. Nadia at 25, she had been through difficult years, but she was starting to believe that change was possible. She was not wishing from sadness anymore. She was hoping from possibility. Hope. A belief that something good is possible. Uncertain, but genuinely possible. Forward-looking. I hope this year brings everything you have been working towards.
That is such a profound difference for 3 such small words. Wish, impossible dream. Hope, possible future. And the grammar reflects this beautifully. After wish, we use past tense to show the imaginary. I wish I knew. I wish I could. After hope, we use present or future. I hope things will be. I hope she gets the job. The grammar itself tells you how likely the speaker believes the outcome is. So if someone uses wish instead of hope, they're actually telling you something very personal about how much they believe in their own future?
Exactly. And Nadia, reading her own letters, could see her own belief system changing across the years. But wait, there is still that third letter and that third word. And that is where it gets really interesting. So Nadia has read 2 letters. The first filled with wishes, the longings of a young woman who did not believe in her own future. The second filled with hope, the tentative belief of someone starting to trust herself again. And the third letter, written at 28, starts with, I want to stop waiting and start living. She told me later that when she read that line, sitting on the floor of her old flat, surrounded by boxes, she started to cry. Why? Was it sad? Not at all. She cried because she recognized something. At 28, she had finally stopped wishing for things she could not have. She had moved past hoping and started wanting. And want, unlike wish or hope, is a word of action. A word of action? Can you explain that?
Want is direct, clear, present. I want this right now, in the real world, not the imaginary world like wish, not the uncertain future like hope. Want says, this is what I desire, and I am going to do something about it.
So the progression from wish to hope to want was actually a journey towards believing in herself more and more?
That is exactly what Nadia saw when she read those 3 letters. At 22, she wished. She was dreaming from a place of doubt. At 25, she hoped. She was beginning to believe. At 28, she wanted. She was ready to act. Have you ever experienced that kind of shift? Where something moved from a wish, something you longed for but did not believe in, to a real want that you actually went after? Think about that for a moment. Is there something in your life right now that is still a wish, when maybe it deserves to become a hope? Or a hope that is ready to become a want? This is making me think quite deeply about my own relationship with these 3 words.
Me too, honestly. And there is one more thing we need to talk about, because there are some very common mistakes people make with wish and hope that completely change the meaning of what they are trying to say.
Like what?
Let me show you. And I promise, after this, we will find out exactly what happened when Nadia finished reading that 3rd letter.
Now, common mistakes with wish, hope, want. Natural expressions from story examples. So, what are the most common mistakes people make with these 3 words?
Mistake 1, using hope when the situation is actually impossible. For example, I hope I could fly someday. This is actually a wish. Flying is not realistically possible for humans. The correct word is, I wish I could fly. Use hope only when the thing is genuinely possible. Use wish for impossible or imaginary situations.
So, if I want to talk about something genuinely impossible or imaginary, always wish?
Always. I wish I were taller. I wish I had studied harder when I was young. That time is gone. You cannot go back. I wish the world were a kinder place. These are all impossible or imaginary. Wish every time. Wish plus past tense, imaginary. I wish plus past simple for present impossible. I wish plus past perfect for past impossible. I wish I knew the answer. I wish I had listened to my mother. And with hope, what do people get wrong?
The most common mistake is using hope without believing in the possibility. For example, saying, I hope I win the lottery, when you have not bought a ticket and do not really believe you will win. That is more of a wish. Hope should carry genuine belief in possibility. It should feel forward-looking and real. What about want? Are there mistakes with want, too? Want is the most direct and the most clear. The main thing to remember is that want is more casual and more personal. It belongs in everyday speech. In formal professional writing, use would like instead of want. I would like to discuss this further is more polished than I want to discuss this further. Want versus would like. Want is direct and casual. Would like is polite and professional. Same meaning, different register. I want a coffee, casual. I would like a coffee, please, polite or professional.
And there are some beautiful natural expressions with wish that are fixed phrases, right?
Yes! I wish you well. Best wishes. Wish me luck. I couldn't wish for more. Make a wish.
These are all fixed expressions where wish carries warmth and genuine goodwill, not the sad longing we discussed earlier. Context always shapes the feeling.
So, wish can be warm and celebratory, not always melancholy?
Exactly. Wishing someone well is one of the most generous things you can say. The sadness is only there when wish is connected to things that cannot be, not when it is given as a gift to someone else.
Your turn. Speak from the heart. Before we find out what Nadia did after reading those letters, let us make this personal for you. Complete these sentences out loud. Say the first thing that comes to your heart, not your head. Do not think too hard. Just speak. Sentence 1. I wish. Sentence 2. I hope. And sentence 3. I want.
Did you notice the different feelings in each sentence? Wish probably felt a little wistful, a little distant. Hope felt more energized, more forward. And want probably felt the most immediate and real. That feeling, the difference in emotional energy between those 3 sentences, that is the grammar. You felt it before you even thought about it. That is what fluency feels like. Here is a reflection question. Which of those 3 words describes where you are most often with your English learning right now? Are you wishing, longing from a distance, hoping, believing it is possible, or wanting, actively going after it?
So, Nadia finishes reading the 3rd letter. She is sitting on the floor, surrounded by the boxes of a life she is moving forward from, and she realizes something. What does she realize? She realizes that the 3 letters are not just records of who she was. They are a map of how she grew, from wishing to hoping to wanting, from dreaming at a distance to believing something was possible to actually reaching for it. And what does she do? She finds a 4th piece of paper, a blank one, and she writes one more letter, not to her future self this time, to her past self, the 22-year-old who was wishing she knew where she was going. Oh, what does she write? She writes 3 sentences, one for each word. I know you wish things were clearer. I hope you trust that they will be. And I want you to know they already are. You are already exactly where you need to be. I need a moment with that, honestly. Me too. Nadia told me later that writing that 4th letter was the most healing thing she had ever done. Not because the past changed, but because she finally had the language, the right words, to speak to it with love instead of regret.
Wish for the longing, hope for the belief, want for the love that is ready to act. 3 words, one whole life.
Beautifully said, Daniel. 3 words, one whole life. What we learned today. The English lesson today. Wish for things that are impossible or imaginary, followed by past tense. I wish I knew. I wish I could. Hope for things that are genuinely possible, followed by present or future. I hope it works. I hope she comes. Want. Direct desire in the real world. Present and active. I want to learn. I want to change. I want to try. And in formal situations, replace want with would like. And the life lesson. The words you choose to describe your desires Reveal what you believe about yourself. If you always wish, you may not believe change is possible. If you hope, you are starting to. If you want, you are ready. Pay attention to which word comes out of your mouth most naturally and ask yourself what it is telling you about where you are right now. Key takeaway: wish lives in the impossible. Hope lives in the possible. Want lives in the real. Here is our one question for you today. Write your 3 sentences in the comments. I wish, I hope, I want. 1 sentence each about your English journey, about your life, about anything that matters to you right now. Share them below. We read every single one and we will reply. And if today's story meant something to you, share this episode with one person who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there is a 22-year-old sitting with wishes who needs to know that hope and want are coming. Subscribe to Real English Podcast for a new episode every single day. Thank you for being here. We genuinely love making these for you. Bye, everyone. Keep going. You are closer than you think. See you next time. Real English Podcast. Real English every day.